Preface to the chapter of the greatest creator. Siafang. Where is the past of humankind? Where is the limit of humanity's future? Can human wisdom prevent an asteroid from colliding with Earth? If we don't know or can't, then let us seek God. The first sentence of chapter 25 of the Tao Te Ching states, "There is a being, wondrous and mysterious, existing before heaven and earth." The Bible begins by stating, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." The Diamond Sutra says, "If one sees me through appearances, and seeks me through sounds, that person is following a misguided path and cannot see the Tathagata, the greatest creator." The Book of Songs, the 10 of Kingwen, Great Brightness states, "This Kingwen, with great care, serves God and enjoys many blessings." The renowned scientist Stephen Hawking wrote in Chapter 8, The Origin and Destiny of the Universe, in A Brief History of Time, the general theory of relativity itself cannot explain these features or answer these questions because it predicts that at the singularity of the Big Bang, the universe began with infinite density, and at that point, general relativity and all other physical laws break down. It seems that science has revealed a set of laws which, within the limits of the uncertainty principle, if we know the state of the universe at any moment, these laws will tell us how it evolves over time. These laws may have originally been established by God. One possible explanation is that God chose this initial structure of the universe for reasons beyond our comprehension. This certainly falls within the power of an omnipotent creator. Unless it was an act of God to create life like ours, explaining why the universe began in this manner is exceedingly difficult. Humans have 6 sensory organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, so they have 6 perceptions: vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and spirituality. Humans use these 6 perceptions to communicate with the material world and the non-material world. If a person were blind, how could we convince them that light exists in the universe? How could we prove the existence of light? We would be unable to. Without sight, one cannot perceive light. If a person were deaf, how could we convince them that sound exists in nature? How could we prove the existence of sound? We would be unable to. Without hearing, one cannot perceive sound. If a person lacked spiritual awareness and was spiritually ignorant, how could we convince them that the greatest creator exists in the universe? How could we prove the existence of the greatest creator? We would also be unable to. Without spiritual awareness, one cannot perceive the greatest creator. Spiritual awareness is an innate instinct. Through spiritual awareness, one can fully perceive the existence of the greatest creator. Everyone has spiritual awareness, so why do they still fail to perceive the greatest creator? This is because their spiritual awareness is obscured or dull, similar to how impaired vision prevents one from seeing clearly. When vision declines, wearing glasses can help one see clearly. When spiritual awareness is dull, enhancing wisdom can help one perceive the greatest creator. Some have used a paradoxical question to try to deny the existence of the greatest creator. Can the greatest creator create a stone that he cannot lift? This question presents a dilemma. If you say no, it denies the greatest creator. If you say yes, it implies that the greatest creator cannot lift the stone he created, which also denies the greatest creator. Thus, no matter how you answer, the result is to deny the greatest creator, at least in terms of his omnipotence. The person who devised this paradox is either very clever or malicious, aiming to confuse people's spirituality and lead them away from the greatest creator. Such a person is either Satan or someone not favored by the greatest creator. Unable to partake in the truth, they attempt to make others believe it is unattainable, similar to the saying about sour grapes. The question, can the greatest creator create a stone that he cannot lift, is a trap. Similar questions include: are you a thing? How should one answer this question? Whether you say yes or no, you fall into the designer's trap. For instance, answering I am not a thing or I am a thing leads to the same result. Therefore, paradoxical questions should not be answered directly with affirmation or denial. Instead, consider or counter-question based on the question itself. For example, in response to "Are you a thing?" you might ask, "Are you a thing?" to see how the questioner responds. In response to "Can the greatest creator create a stone that he cannot lift?" you might ask, can the greatest creator not lift a stone he has created? The question, "Can the greatest creator create a stone that he cannot lift?" does not apply to the greatest creator himself, just as "Are you a thing?" does not apply to humans. Additionally, this question is inherently self-contradictory, meaning that any answer already implies a denial. Such questions have puzzled many philosophers and logicians. Here are some similar examples. Aren't you an animal born from your parents? Can eyes not see eyes? Isn't a person a non-animal? These types of questions cannot be answered directly but must be rephrased. The answer to the question of the greatest creator is, the greatest creator can create stones under any conditions. The greatest creator can lift stones under any conditions. Do you have further questions? If so, I can address them in this manner. First, I will ask, what does it mean to lift? If holding a stone with both hands and placing it above one's head constitutes lifting, then what about this definition? If not, what does lifting mean? If so, suppose the stone is the earth, and I stand upside down, holding the earth with both hands. Is the earth above my head then? You might argue that it isn't, because the earth is below my head. Fine. Then, if I move along the Earth's meridian 360 degrees while performing the same action, the Earth should be above my head at some point, right? No? So, which point in the universe is above us? Which point is below us? You might then argue that even though my hands are holding the Earth and the Earth is above my head, it's not me lifting it but the Earth's gravity pulling me. If so, we must first reconsider the meaning of lifting. What then is lifting? Regardless of how lifting is defined, by changing orientation, I can claim to have lifted the earth. If you agree that I lifted the earth, then I can prove that I did not lift it. So, does the question, "Can the greatest creator create a stone that he cannot lift?" hold? We must seek the greatest creator and understand the greatest creator, otherwise, we will never grasp the origins of the universe, the origin of life, the past and future of humankind. We will also fail to understand animal instincts and the purpose of life. I am 46 years old and have worked in over 20 different professions: shepherd, farmer, laborer, youth league secretary, clerk, party branch secretary, instructor of a commune cultural propaganda team, fitter, electrician, auto mechanic, middle school teacher, office staff, office director, translator, driver, salesperson, grocery store manager, restaurant purchaser, bar attendant, nightclub manager, fast food manager, and real estate developer. Except for the roles of office director and restaurant purchaser, which I held for only 2 months each, I have worked in all other positions for more than 6 months. What have I gained from working in so many different occupations? The gain is that a life without faith and without a goal is like a cloud floating aimlessly in the sky, driven by the wind. A few years ago, a mysterious car accident I experienced personally prompted me to start exploring the meaning of life. What am I living for? For the motherland and the nation? Nonsense. I can't even solve my own survival problems, yet I talk about the motherland and the nation. For my parents? Definitely not, because if it were for them, I wouldn't be able to continue living after they passed away. For my partner? That's absurd. If I didn't exist, my partner might actually live better. For my children? No, why do people without children still continue to live? My children have established their careers, so why should I keep living? Living not only doesn't help my children anymore, but it also adds trouble and burden to them. For myself? Ridiculous. I can't decide my own birth, nor can I decide my own death. If I could choose, I would prefer to have no life, to be a zero. So, who brought me into this world? Am I a random product of my parents' accidental union? Absolutely not. The universe is governed by laws and rules, everything is inevitable, and there are no purposeless accidental events. Everything that exists has its own purpose. So, what is the purpose of my existence? I can't tolerate living such a vague and confused life. Either I die, or I live clearly and transparently. Even if I don't know where I came from, at least I need to know where I'm going. Otherwise, if I were to suddenly encounter another car accident and die tomorrow, wouldn't that be an injustice? Will money help me understand the purpose of life? It seems that no millionaire in the world has ever solved the problem of life's purpose. If I wait until I am rich, I might not have much energy or time left to figure it out before I die. Besides, money is not something that can be obtained just by wanting it, otherwise, everyone would be billionaires. Will power help me understand the purpose of life? Throughout history, how many emperors and ministers have appeared, yet which one of them understood the purpose of life? Who among them left us a treasury of classical advice? Will becoming a scientist help me understand the purpose of life? Even greats like Newton, Einstein, and Stephen Hawking didn't understand the origins of the universe, humanity, or life. Can I, after becoming a scientist, understand more than they did? Moreover, just as I am not naturally gifted with a singer's voice and cannot become a singer, can I become a scientist? I cannot dream such dreams. Will becoming some other kind of expert help me understand the purpose of living? Probably not, just like archaeologists and anthropologists who keep changing their theories about human origins. One moment they say humans originated in Europe, then Asia, then Africa, based on a few fossils they've uncovered. This kind of theory is unreliable, as they might discover another fossil somewhere and claim humans originated in Antarctica. Will reading the Bible help me understand the purpose of life? Perhaps I am not gifted, but after reading the Bible for years, I still haven't had an awakening. Where exactly is the kingdom of the greatest creator? Does it already exist, or will it come in the future? If it is in the future, then where and when will it happen? Is the future 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or 100 million years? My life is only a few decades. Can my body be resurrected? How is it resurrected? Jesus is God, no doubt about it, but are there other gods who can restrain Jesus? If there are no other gods, why did Jesus have to suffer? Why did almost all of Jesus' disciples die violently? Can't God control his own destiny? As God, why couldn't he protect his few disciples? Why must suffering be the path to future blessings? I hope that Buddhist scriptures can point me in the right direction. Buddhism discusses concepts such as past lives, future lives, samsara, karma, and the interplay of causal conditions, all of which are meaningful. But how exactly does karma transform? How should one live to ensure a better future life? Where exactly is the Western Pure Land? What is it like? I haven't read all the vast Buddhist scriptures, nor do I dare to make rash conclusions. But Buddhism has existed for over 2,000 years, and it still can't make people understand the purpose of life. If life is merely a process of suffering, why did the greatest creator create so many beautiful things for humans to enjoy? If the purpose of life is to become a Buddha, then what is a Buddha? How does one become a Buddha? What is the probability of becoming a Buddha? If 1,000 people practice Buddhism and only 2 to 3 people can become Buddhas, wouldn't the rest have wasted their life and lost their joy? Money, power, and status, scientists and other experts, Christianity, and Buddhism all have their own reasons, but none can make people live clearly and understandably. Moreover, as an ordinary person who can't even solve the problem of daily meals, how can I have the time to master social sciences, natural sciences, and religion? Is there a shortcut? Can I bypass God's and human-acquired knowledge and seek the greatest creator directly, since only the greatest creator knows everything and has the final decision? Where can I find the greatest creator? Read the book without words by observing the sky, the earth, people, and things. Fortunately, I have engaged in over 20 different types of work, experienced many hardships, and, after graduating from high school, attended school 3 times, living in rural areas, small towns, and big cities. This allows me to connect various phenomena and events for chain thinking, but the result is still rather vague. Where is the problem? By chance, I read the Quran and was greatly inspired. The Quran says, "O assembly of jinn and mankind, if you are able to pass beyond the regions of the heavens and the earth, then pass. You will not pass except by authority." Yes. How can I escape the bounds of heaven and earth without borrowing the authority and help of the greatest creator? How to borrow the help of the greatest creator? Rely on spiritual awareness. Humans are part of the universe, heaven and humans correspond. If a small thorn pricks the toe, the brain immediately senses it. If I send a thought fax to the greatest creator will surely know. Sure enough, the origins of the universe, life, humanity, and 36-dimensional spaces gradually appeared on the screen of my mind. And the issue of fate resolved itself without further explanation. At this point, I recognized the greatest creator, recognized God Jesus, recognized Buddha Shakyamuni, recognized celestial ancestor Laozi, recognized humanity, understood the universe, time, space, energy, and material, the physical body and the spiritual body, the essence of life, and the purpose of living. I recognized the greatest creator through spiritual awareness, but spiritual awareness can only be understood and cannot be conveyed. To spark interest, I used 40 natural phenomena and 8 logical inferences to forcibly prove the existence of the greatest creator and explain the 8 characteristics of the greatest creator and the 8 relationships between the greatest creator and humanity. Whether you can sense the greatest creator depends entirely on your own spiritual awareness and wisdom.